Before all that, whether it's pictures of loved ones or treasured family videos, our phones store some of our most precious memories. But have you made plans to pass on your digital life after you die?
Well, following her husband's death in 2015, mum of one, Rachel Thompson, was told by tech giant Apple that she wouldn't be able to recover thousands of family photos and videos from his phone without a court order.
But after winning a 3-year case against the firm, Rachel joins us today alongside her lawyer, Matt Himsworth. Welcome to both of you. Thank you. I mean, this is a story we've all been saying, gosh, it's something you just don't think about. So it's really important to sort of spread this message today. Your story began, Matt, you met with him at university. I think you were 20, he was 19. You were married 10 years later. You had Matilda. You separated in 2014, but you never divorced. That's right. And then there was this moment as a family that nobody saw coming, this tragedy that in July 2015, he took his own life. Mm-hmm. Because you weren't divorced, you were the legal, everything went to you, and the phone. The situation here was that all of your photos as a family, the videos of Matilda growing up, were all on this phone.
Yeah, in the cloud.
Yeah.
So he would take his phone everywhere. And we would take hundreds of photographs. He was very artistic. So the iPhone, he had a first-generation iPhone. So from day dot, they came out, he was taking hundreds of photographs. And he recorded our life as a family and Matilda's life growing up. Yeah. And then when he died, the phone shut down and I didn't have the passcode to get into the phone.
He'd given you the code, though, hadn't he?
He'd given it to me and Matilda's thumbprint operated the entry to it. But when the phone dies, the battery dies, you need to do it. And I'm so dyslexic, as is Matt, I forgot. And death is a funny thing. Your brain shuts down, you forget really important things. It sort of like self-protects in a way. Mm. And it was so sudden that I had no idea this was coming.
So you assume that you went into the Apple store and said,
Wandered in naively.
My husband's died, so can I get his pictures?
Can you please open it for me? And they were just like, no, sorry, we can't. And I was like, oh, why? And they're just like, well, there is a process and we don't have access to it. We're really sorry.
So then the advice you got was that you'd have to go to Apple Ireland and get in touch with them, and you were told that you would have to have a grant of probate, which you went and got, and that took 6 months to get that. You then take that and they say, no, now you need a court order.
Well, they said, actually, sorry, we gave you the wrong information. You need a grant of probate to close the account. And I was like, no, I don't want to close it. I want to access it to get the photographs back. So then they sort of said, oh, no, you need a court order. And I was just like, OK, saying what? They gave me the wording for the order. And one of my mother's friends, the judge, so I took it to her and said, look, can you please help me? Where would I go to get this thing? And she's like, I have no idea. I've never seen it before. Don't understand the wording. Then I spoke to another friend who's a QC, and he said exactly the same thing. In fairness, both of them are in family law, not media. And I was just like, oh. Then I went to the magistrate's court, couldn't get anything from them, can't speak to anyone because the court systems are so strange. And I was a bit like, I just don't know what to do. And then a friend of mine who's a commercial lawyer met Matt, was telling Matt the story. And so Matt contacted me and said, well, can I try and help you?
Well, Matt, the T's and C's, terms and conditions from Apple are sort of quite clear. They state that user accounts are non-transferable and that the right to online content terminates on your death unless otherwise required by law. Apple require a court order to transfer accounts to a user's next of kin, which is an expensive and lengthy process, as you've found out. However, Apple say it cannot access a dead person's photos if they are stored on a phone or tablet and not uploaded to the cloud. In these cases, it cannot transfer access, even with a court order. As Holly said at the beginning, we'd never even thought about this, but I'm assuming this comes from a place of privacy, protection. And so how would we all expect to be able to have access to someone else's phone, no matter what the relationship was?
Well, quite. When you die, you either leave a will or you don't. If you leave a will, then you can decide what possessions you give over and who you give them to. If you don't leave a will, then the assumption is that that passes on to your next of kin. Of course, what happened with Matthew was tragic and sudden. He made no provision at all, so he died intestate, so everything passes on to his next of kin. So the assumption is that the deceased individual wants everything to pass over to the next of kin, and that next of kin becomes his legal representative, becomes the person who is him. So effectively, in having those terms and conditions, Apple are saying we won't give you access to your account after you have died, because Rachel sits in Matthew's shoes at that point. From our point of view, we think that that's an unfair contract term, and we think if we would have been forced to go to the High Court to argue it, we would have won that against Apple. Now, the position that Apple took, to be fair to them, was that they wouldn't turn up at court and try and argue this point. And there's a provision in, I can't remember exactly the wording that was what you just read out, Philip, but unless otherwise ordered, etc., etc. That allows them to take a neutral position as they eventually deal with Rachel, go to court, get the order, and then we'll give you access to the account. But as Rachel just described, it's very difficult for a member of the public to just pitch up at court, get a court order, serve it on Apple in the right way and get access to it.
Because this is now not a landmark case, because it didn't go to the High Court. So for anybody else, it's not that they can say, well, this lady we saw on this morning had this, so that means that's going to be the same for me. You're still going to have to go through this and fight this, and 3 years later, possibly get the outcome that you did. And for, as a family, for you, for your daughter, she was 6 when her father passed away. She's 10 now. All of those years without that, I mean, it's a grieving process. That those images possibly could have helped. You would have been able to talk about him.
And she would sit there, Mummy, please, can you tell me stories about Daddy? And I'd be like, OK, so I had my stock stories, and, you know, you can't keep retelling them. And actually, it's really nice to have the photographs. It's like, oh, my goodness, do you remember when you did this or we did this? And do you remember this photograph? You know, you over time, you forget.
Well, you finally got
lovely.
access to the cloud, to his photos on the cloud at the weekend. And so you sat down and watched on Sunday, I think.
Yep,
and how did Matilda feel about that?
So we went through a few of them, and I didn't really know how to present. Here's 4,500 photographs of your father, 900 videos. Here you go, you're 10.
Yeah, it's quite overwhelming.
That's quite a lot for a little child.
It'd be amazing over a space of years, though, to drip feed it out, wouldn't it? Something new every birthday or something new every Christmas, something like that.
So I sat down, I showed her a few of them, and then she's just like, after about 5 or 10 minutes, she's like, Mummy, I think I want to go and play with the dog now. Would it be OK if we went and looked at these another time? Absolutely fine.
Was there a thought, though, in your mind, because you'd accessed something, and a person's phone now, it's more than a diary, it's the most personal thing about them, the most private thing about them, that once you'd got access to the cloud, you were going to see something you didn't want to see?
Yes, there's always that risk. But there was nothing there that was untoward.
Would it have hurt you if you had seen something that was there that you shouldn't have seen?
I don't know. Maybe. I can't answer that because I don't know, because there wasn't anything. There was no surprises, there was nothing. And that is the risk, isn't it? That you do this and you find something that you don't necessarily want to see. But for me, I thought it was a risk worth taking.
So we always say on here that the best gift you can give your family is to write a will and sort out your orders before you die, because it's so painful for who you leave behind. We've never thought about our digital online life. What can you do? What can I do? What can anyone do watching to sort of protect your family now?
I think what's the best advice we can give, and we feel passionate, it's one of the reasons Rachel wanted to tell this story, is put practical steps into place. Make it possible that your family knows exactly how to access your iCloud. As Rachel said, Matthew had provided some of that information, but it had been forgotten, so therefore some practical steps hadn't been put in place. We've even got clients who have asked us to effectively sit in as their digital executor in the event that they ever die. I mean, it's not a real phrase, digital executor, but it seems appropriate. And all Rachel and Matilda are interested in, for example, were the photos and videos. They were not interested in his messages or his emails or whatever else. And there might be people in the situation which I want my wife and my children to see this and this, but I don't want them to see this. So to appoint someone that you trust to go through, access the account, download all the photographs and videos and provide them on to the ones, the nearest and dearest, and then exclude them from the information that you would want to die with you.
The judge said it was a necessity for new, simpler processes for those trying to access the digital contents of a deceased loved one or relative should occur. Apple representatives, you say, and lawyers didn't contest the ruling in court because they didn't turn up to fight it. But certainly for us, and I'm pretty sure, maybe for you as well, this has started a conversation that we haven't even considered. That as far as your will is concerned, there is also your digital will as well. Thank you both very much.
Thank you. Send our love to Matilda as well, won't you? Thank you very much.